In the quiet corners of North America, where forests meet meadows and backyards welcome the wild, there lives a bird whose brilliant red plumage has captured hearts for generations. The Northern Cardinal, known scientifically as Cardinalis cardinalis, stands as one of the most recognizable and beloved birds across the continent. The male cardinal wears his crimson coat like a flame against winter snow, a sight so striking that 7 U.S. states have chosen him as their official state bird. Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, North Carolina, Ohio, Virginia, and West Virginia all claim the cardinal as their own, a testament to how deeply this bird has woven itself into the fabric of American natural heritage. Unlike many of their feathered cousins who flee south when temperatures drop, cardinals are year-round residents wherever they make their home. They are non-migratory birds, staying faithful to their territories through all 4 seasons. Their red forms a welcome splash of color against bare winter branches and pristine white snow. The cardinal belongs to the family Cardinalidae, a group of robust songbirds found primarily in the Americas. This family includes other colorful species like grosbeaks and buntings, but none quite match the cardinal's iconic appearance and widespread appeal. An adult cardinal measures between 8 and 9 inches in length, with a wingspan that stretches 11 to 12 inches across. They weigh approximately 1.5 ounces, light as 3 AAA batteries, yet their presence commands attention far beyond their modest size. The most distinctive feature of any cardinal is undoubtedly its crest, that prominent pointed crown of feathers atop its head. This crest is expressive, rising and falling with the bird's mood and level of alertness, serving as a visible indicator of the cardinal's emotional state. Both male and female cardinals possess thick, cone-shaped beaks colored a brilliant coral orange. This powerful beak is perfectly designed for their dietary needs, capable of cracking open seeds and nuts that would challenge birds with more delicate bills. The cardinal's facial markings add to its striking appearance. A distinctive black mask surrounds the base of the beak and extends around the eyes, creating a bold contrast against the red or tan plumage, giving the bird an almost regal appearance. Cardinals possess remarkably long tails relative to their body size, measuring about half their total length. These tails help with balance and maneuverability as they navigate through dense shrubbery and forest understory. The species name, Cardinalis, comes from the vivid red robes worn by Catholic cardinals, those high-ranking officials of the Church. Early European settlers in America immediately drew the connection between the bird's brilliant coloring and the ecclesiastical garments they knew from home. In terms of lifespan, wild cardinals can live surprisingly long lives for such small birds. The average lifespan is about 3 years, but many individuals survive much longer. The oldest known wild cardinal reached the remarkable age of 15 years and 9 months, documented through bird banding records. Cardinals are vocal throughout the year, unlike many songbirds that fall silent outside breeding season. Their songs and calls echo through neighborhoods and woodlands in every month, providing a constant and cheerful soundtrack to outdoor spaces. The cardinal's range has actually expanded significantly over the past century. Originally birds of the southeastern United States, they have moved northward and westward, adapting to new territories and bringing their beauty to regions where they were once unknown. While the male cardinal captures most of the attention with his vibrant red plumage, the female cardinal possesses her own subtle and sophisticated beauty. Her feathers are primarily a soft, warm brown with buff or tan tones that blend seamlessly into the dappled light of forest edges and shrubland. The female is not entirely without red coloring. She bears reddish tinges on her crest, wings, and tail, hints of the brilliant color that dominates her mate's appearance. These touches of red give her a distinguished look, elegant rather than flashy. This difference in coloration between male and female is called sexual dimorphism, and it serves important evolutionary purposes. The female's more subdued colors provide excellent camouflage when she sits on the nest, protecting both her and her developing eggs from predators who hunt by sight. Despite her less conspicuous appearance, the female cardinal is equally vigorous and active. She is every bit as territorial and vocal as her mate, singing complex songs and defending her space with determination. Female cardinals are one of the few female songbirds in North America that actually sing. In most songbird species, only males vocalize elaborate songs, but female cardinals break this pattern with their own melodious contributions to the dawn chorus. The female often sings from the nest, possibly to communicate with her mate about her needs or to signal when she requires food. This behavior is relatively rare among birds and highlights the strong pair bond that cardinals maintain. When observing a female cardinal, one can see that her beak is just as robust and colorful as the male's, that same striking coral orange that makes the species so distinctive. This tool serves her well as she forages for food to nourish herself and eventually her young. The female's black facial mask is present but typically less extensive than the male's, creating a softer overall appearance while maintaining the cardinal's characteristic features. During winter months, female cardinals may appear even more beautiful as their brown plumage stands out against snow and ice. Their warm earth tones provide a different kind of visual interest than the male's bright red, a reminder that beauty comes in many forms. Juvenile cardinals of both sexes resemble the female in coloring. Young birds wear the same brownish plumage with reddish highlights, and young males gradually molt into their brilliant red breeding plumage over several months. The female cardinal's understated elegance has its own following among bird watchers. Many people specifically look for the female, appreciating her quieter beauty and the way she demonstrates that not all spectacular birds need to be brightly colored. The cardinal's voice is as distinctive as its appearance. Their songs consist of clear, whistled phrases that have been described as sounding like birdie 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 or cheer cheer cheer, though these human approximations barely capture the pure, musical quality of the actual sound. Cardinals possess a remarkable vocal repertoire. A single cardinal may know more than 24 different song variations, allowing for complex communication with mates and rivals. Each individual develops its own unique combination of songs throughout its life. The male cardinal sings primarily to establish and defend territory, and to attract a mate. His songs ring out from high perches, announcing his presence and warning other males to stay away. During peak breeding season, a male may sing hundreds of songs in a single morning. Female cardinals, as mentioned, also sing, though they typically do so less frequently than males. Their songs serve different purposes, often used to communicate with their mate, especially when one bird is foraging and the other is on the nest. Cardinals engage in what's called countersinging, where a male and female will sing back and forth to each other. This duetting behavior strengthens their pair bond and helps them coordinate activities like nest building and chick feeding. The most common cardinal call is a sharp, metallic, chip sound. This call serves as an alarm, alerting other birds to potential danger. When you hear this insistent chipping in your yard, often a cat, hawk, or other predator is nearby. Cardinals also produce a distinctive tick-tick-tick sound, sometimes described as sounding like someone striking a small piece of metal. This call is often given when the bird is agitated or when it's moving through dense vegetation. In the very early morning, before sunrise, male cardinals are often among the first birds to begin singing. This pre-dawn song session can start as early as 45 minutes before the sun breaks the horizon, as males claim their territories with voice alone in the darkness. Cardinals sing year-round, though they are most vocal during the breeding season from March through August. Even in the depths of winter, however, a cardinal's song can brighten a cold morning, a reminder that spring will eventually return. The cardinal's song carries remarkably well through their habitat. The clear, whistled notes can travel several hundred feet, allowing cardinals to communicate across relatively large territories without seeing each other. Young cardinals learn their songs through a combination of innate ability and learning from their fathers and other male cardinals in the area. This means that regional dialects can develop, with birds in different areas singing slightly different variations of cardinal songs. Scientists have discovered that female cardinals actually prefer males with larger song repertoires. A male who can sing many different songs demonstrates his fitness and experience, making him a more attractive mate. Cardinals are primarily granivorous, meaning they eat mostly seeds and grains. Their powerful, cone-shaped beaks are perfectly adapted for cracking open tough seed shells to access the nutritious kernels inside. Among their favorite foods are sunflower seeds, and any backyard bird feeder stocked with black oil sunflower seeds is likely to attract cardinals. They particularly prefer the larger, easier-to-handle seeds that their beaks can grasp firmly. Safflower seeds are another cardinal favorite, and they have a special advantage at bird feeders. Many other species, particularly aggressive birds like grackles and starlings, dislike the bitter taste of safflower seeds, so offering them can help ensure cardinals get their share. Cardinals also consume a wide variety of wild seeds. They feed on the seeds of grasses, sedges, ragweed, smartweed, and many other plants. In natural settings, they can often be found foraging on the ground beneath seed-bearing plants. During spring and summer, cardinals shift their diet to include more protein-rich foods. They consume beetles, caterpillars, grasshoppers, cicadas, and other insects, which provide essential nutrition for raising their young. Baby cardinals require a diet almost exclusively composed of insects. Parent birds work tirelessly during the breeding season to catch enough soft-bodied insects and spiders to satisfy their hungry chicks' need for protein and growth. Cardinals also enjoy eating berries and fruits when available. Wild grape, dogwood berries, sumac, mulberries, and hackberries all feature in their diet, providing variety and important vitamins. In autumn, cardinals feast on the bounty of ripening seeds and fruits. This is when they build up fat reserves to help them survive the leaner winter months ahead, eating almost constantly during the shorter daylight hours. Cardinals are ground foragers by preference. They typically feed by hopping along the ground, using their feet to scratch backward through leaf litter, exposing seeds and insects hiding beneath the debris. When feeding in trees and shrubs, cardinals grasp branches with their strong feet and lean forward to pluck berries or seeds. They may hang at awkward angles, demonstrating surprising acrobatic ability for such a stocky bird. Cardinals need to drink water regularly, and they're frequently seen at bird baths. They approach water cautiously, usually arriving in short flights from nearby cover, drinking quickly, and then retreating to safety. During winter, when water sources freeze, cardinals will eat snow to meet their hydration needs. However, a heated bird bath is tremendously valuable to winter birds, providing the liquid water they need without expending extra energy to melt snow. Cardinals prefer to feed during the early morning hours and again in late afternoon, though they will forage throughout the day when necessary. These peak feeding times allow them to fuel up after the night's fast and before the long night ahead. Cardinals thrive in edge habitats, those transitional zones where forests meet open areas. These edges provide the perfect combination of dense cover for nesting and safety, along with open areas for foraging and singing perches. Woodland edges, overgrown fields, hedgerows, and parks all provide ideal cardinal habitat. They particularly favor areas with thick, tangled shrubs and small trees that offer protection from predators and shelter from harsh weather. In suburban and urban environments, cardinals have adapted remarkably well. They flourish in neighborhoods with mature landscaping, especially where people maintain shrubs, small trees, and bird feeders that supplement natural food sources. A cardinal's territory can range from 2 to 10 acres, depending on habitat quality and population density. Each pair defends this space vigorously against other cardinals, though they tolerate other bird species that don't compete directly for resources. Male cardinals establish territories in late winter, before the breeding season begins. They sing from prominent perches throughout their claimed area, warning other males to stay away. Physical confrontations do occur, but songs usually suffice to maintain boundaries. Cardinals are highly territorial even outside the breeding season. Unlike some birds that become more social in winter, cardinals maintain their territories year-round, with pairs or individuals defending their space through all seasons. Within their territory, cardinals establish favorite spots for different activities. They have preferred singing perches, usually high in trees where their voice carries far. They have preferred foraging areas, often on the ground in sheltered spots. And they have preferred roosting sites where they sleep at night. Cardinals roost in dense evergreen trees or thick shrubs that provide protection from weather and predators. During winter, they may roost in the same spot night after night, arriving at dusk and remaining still until dawn. The expansion of cardinal range over the past century has been partly attributed to human habitat modification. As people planted ornamental shrubs and trees, created parks, and established bird feeders, they inadvertently created perfect cardinal habitat in areas where it previously didn't exist. Cardinals prefer areas with a mix of plant heights, from ground cover to tall trees. This vertical diversity provides different resources for different activities and seasons, creating a more complete and sustainable habitat. Water availability is crucial for cardinal habitat selection. Territories typically include access to streams, ponds, or other water sources, though in residential areas, bird baths can fulfill this need. Cardinals generally avoid deep, unbroken forests where understory vegetation is sparse. They need that tangled, dense vegetation at lower levels, which is more common in younger forests and edge habitats than in mature forest interiors. The cardinal breeding season begins in early spring, with courtship behaviors often starting as early as February or March, depending on latitude. The warming days and lengthening daylight trigger hormonal changes that initiate the breeding cycle. Cardinal courtship is a tender affair. One of the most endearing behaviors is mate feeding, where the male collects food and brings it to the female, gently placing it in her beak. This behavior serves multiple purposes. It demonstrates the male's ability to provide, it helps the female build energy reserves for egg production, and it strengthens the pair bond. During courtship, males may also perform a courtship dance. The male approaches the female with his body held low, tail elevated, and wings drooped, while swaying from side to side and singing softly. This display showcases his plumage and vigor. Cardinals typically form monogamous pairs that last through the breeding season, and many pairs stay together year-round, maintaining their bond and territory together. Some pairs remain together for multiple years, though this isn't universal. Once paired, the female takes the lead in selecting the nest site. She explores potential locations, often with the male following and observing, but the final decision rests with her. She'll carefully evaluate each site for safety, shelter, and proximity to food sources. The nest itself is built almost entirely by the female, though the male may bring materials. She works with remarkable patience and skill, weaving together twigs, bark strips, grasses, and rootlets into a cup-shaped structure. Cardinal nests are typically placed 3 to 10 feet above the ground in dense shrubs or small trees. Favorite nesting sites include thick bushes like privet, dense vine tangles, and the concealing branches of evergreens. The construction of a nest takes 3 to 9 days. The female weaves the outer structure first, creating a platform and walls, then lines the interior with fine grasses, soft plant material, and sometimes even animal hair she finds. The finished nest is about 4 inches in diameter and 3 inches deep, just large enough to contain the eggs and later the growing chicks. Despite its small size, the nest is sturdy and well constructed, capable of supporting the weight of multiple growing birds. Female cardinals typically lay 3 to 4 eggs per clutch, though anywhere from 1 to 5 is possible. The eggs are pale gray-green or bluish-white with brown, purple, or gray speckles concentrated at the larger end. Each egg is laid early in the morning on successive days. The female doesn't begin incubating in earnest until the next to last or last egg is laid, which helps ensure that all the eggs hatch around the same time. Incubation lasts 11 to 13 days and is performed almost exclusively by the female. She sits patiently on the eggs, leaving only briefly to feed, while the male guards the territory and often brings her food. Cardinals can raise multiple broods in a single season. 2 broods per year are common, and 3 are possible in southern parts of their range where the breeding season is longer. Occasionally, the female will begin building a second nest and laying new eggs while the male cares for fledglings from the first brood. When cardinal eggs hatch, the chicks emerge naked, blind, and completely helpless. They are altricial birds, meaning they require extensive parental care to survive, unlike precocial birds that can walk and feed themselves shortly after hatching. Newly hatched cardinal chicks weigh only about 3 grams, roughly the weight of a penny. Their skin is translucent pink, and their eyes are sealed shut. Despite their vulnerability, they possess a strong instinct. When the nest vibrates, they lift their heads and gape widely, begging for food. The inside of a baby cardinal's mouth is bright red, and the edges of their gape are yellow. These bright colors serve as visual targets, helping parent birds accurately deliver food into the chicks' mouths, even in the dim light of dense shrubs. Both parents feed the chicks, making frequent trips from dawn until dusk. During the first few days, they bring tiny caterpillars, spiders, and other small, soft insects that the chicks can easily digest. As the chicks grow, the parents bring larger prey items. A single pair of cardinals may capture and deliver hundreds of insects to their nestlings each day, representing hours of intensive foraging labor. The chicks grow at a remarkable rate. Their eyes open after 3 to 4 days, and within a week, pin feathers begin to emerge through their skin. These pin feathers look like tiny spikes and will eventually unfurl into the feathers that allow flight. By day 9 or 10, the nestlings are fully feathered, though their feathers still have a fluffy, not quite finished appearance. They begin to look like small, grayish versions of adult birds, with the characteristic crest becoming visible. Young cardinals typically fledge, meaning they leave the nest, at 9 to 11 days old. This might seem premature, as they are not yet strong flyers, but leaving the nest reduces the risk that a predator will discover and destroy the entire brood at once. Newly fledged cardinals can't fly well initially. They hop and flutter from branch to branch, staying close to the ground in thick cover. This is a dangerous time, and many young cardinals fall prey to cats, snakes, and other predators. The parents continue to feed fledglings for 3 to 4 weeks after they leave the nest. During this time, the young birds strengthen their flight muscles, improve their coordination, and learn essential survival skills by watching and imitating their parents. Young cardinals can be identified by their dark gray or blackish beaks, which gradually turn orange over their first few months. They also lack the bright red coloring of adult males, instead wearing brownish plumage similar to adult females. Juvenile cardinals must learn what foods are edible, where to find them, and how to process them. They practice pecking at various objects, gradually improving their ability to crack seeds and catch insects. The mortality rate for young cardinals is high. Studies suggest that less than half of all cardinals survive their first year. Those that do survive this critical period have much better prospects, with annual survival rates for adults hovering around 60%. Young male cardinals go through their first molt in late summer or early fall of their first year. This is when they begin to develop their red plumage, though full adult coloring may not appear until after the second molt. Despite their beauty and charm, cardinals face numerous threats in the wild. Being relatively small birds, they occupy a position in the food chain that makes them prey for many larger animals. Domestic and feral cats are among the most significant predators of cardinals, particularly in suburban and urban areas. Cats kill hundreds of millions of birds in North America each year, and cardinals, with their ground feeding habits, are especially vulnerable. Hawks pose a constant threat to cardinals. Sharp-shinned hawks and Cooper's hawks are bird specialists that hunt in exactly the kind of edge habitat that cardinals prefer. These agile raptors can maneuver through dense vegetation to capture their prey. Cardinals have several defensive strategies against hawks. When they spot a hawk, they often freeze, becoming absolutely motionless, as many hawks detect prey through movement. They also dive into the densest available cover, where the larger hawk cannot follow. Snakes are significant nest predators, raiding cardinal nests to eat eggs and young chicks. Rat snakes, in particular, are excellent climbers that can easily reach nests in shrubs and small trees. Other bird species sometimes prey on cardinal eggs or chicks. Blue jays, crows, and grackles will raid cardinal nests if they discover them, representing a threat even from other birds. Mammals like raccoons, squirrels, and possums are opportunistic nest predators. Their excellent climbing abilities and keen sense of smell can lead them to cardinal nests, where they'll consume eggs or chicks if given the opportunity. Cardinals rely heavily on their vigilance to avoid predators. They are constantly alert, frequently pausing while feeding to look around for threats. Their crest often raises when they're alarmed, providing a visual signal to other birds. The cardinal's habit of staying close to cover serves as protection. When danger threatens, a cardinal can disappear into a bush or hedge in a fraction of a second, using the dense vegetation as a shield. Cardinals employ mobbing behavior when they encounter predators, particularly perched owls or hawks. They gather with other small birds, calling loudly and sometimes diving at the predator, harassing it until it moves away from their territory. Window strikes represent a modern threat to cardinals. These birds sometimes fly into glass windows, either not seeing the glass or seeing a reflection that looks like habitat. Some strikes are fatal, while others leave the bird stunned but able to recover. During breeding season, male cardinals sometimes attack their own reflections in windows, car mirrors, or other reflective surfaces. They perceive the reflection as an intruding male and spend hours fighting this imaginary rival, sometimes exhausting themselves in the process. Cardinals face threats from weather events as well. Severe storms, particularly ice storms that coat everything in frozen layers, can make food inaccessible and cause mortality. Extended cold snaps require cardinals to find enough food to maintain their body temperature, which can be challenging. Despite these many threats, cardinals have proven themselves remarkably resilient and adaptable. Their populations remain stable or increasing across most of their range, demonstrating their success at navigating a world full of dangers. A cardinal's day begins before dawn. As the first hints of light appear in the eastern sky, male cardinals begin singing from their nighttime roosts, their clear whistles carrying through the quiet morning air. After singing for a period, cardinals begin their morning feeding session. This is one of the most intensive feeding periods of the day, as the birds need to replenish energy used during the cold night when they couldn't eat. Cardinals are diurnal, meaning they are active during daylight hours and rest at night. They don't have good night vision like owls, so they cease activity as darkness falls and don't resume until morning light returns. During midday, especially in warm weather, cardinals often rest in shaded areas. They may preen their feathers, removing dirt and parasites and applying oil from their uropygial gland, located near the base of their tail, which keeps their feathers waterproof and in good condition. Preening is an essential daily activity for cardinals. They carefully draw each feather through their beak, cleaning and aligning the tiny barbs that give feathers their structure. A well-maintained plumage is crucial for both flight efficiency and insulation. Cardinals also engage in bathing behavior, splashing in shallow water to clean their feathers. They approach water with their characteristic caution, usually in quick visits, and after bathing they retreat to a safe perch to preen and dry. In addition to water bathing, cardinals sometimes engage in anting, a curious behavior where they rub ants over their feathers or allow ants to crawl through their plumage. Scientists believe the formic acid from ants may help control feather parasites. Cardinals also practice dust bathing, squatting in dry dirt or sand and using their wings to throw dust over their feathers. Like anteing, this behavior may help control external parasites. Late afternoon brings another intensive feeding period as cardinals prepare for the night ahead. They can often be seen visiting feeders or foraging on the ground as the sun begins to sink toward the horizon. As dusk approaches, cardinals make their way to their roosting sites. They typically enter the roost while there's still some light, settling into protected spots within dense evergreens or thick shrubs where they'll spend the night. Cardinals sleep with their head tucked back against their body, often with their beak buried in the feathers of their back. This position conserves heat and protects their exposed beak and face from cold temperatures. On cold winter nights, cardinals fluff their feathers to trap air and create better insulation. They may also shiver to generate heat, and they lower their metabolic rate slightly to conserve energy during the long hours of winter darkness. Cardinals are somewhat social outside the breeding season, though they maintain their territories. Multiple cardinals may feed in proximity at rich food sources like bird feeders, though aggressive interactions still occur over preferred spots. The cardinal's daily routine varies somewhat with the seasons. Winter days are shorter, providing fewer hours for feeding, so cardinals must feed more efficiently. Summer days are longer, but the demands of raising young create a different kind of intensity to their schedule. The brilliant red coloration of male cardinals comes not from pigments they produce themselves, but from carotenoids in their diet. These organic compounds are found in the fruits, berries, and seeds that cardinals consume, and they incorporate these compounds into their growing feathers. The brighter the male cardinal's red plumage, the healthier he likely is. Females can assess male quality by observing color intensity, as only well-nourished males with access to quality food sources can develop the most vibrant red feathers. Cardinal feathers are not actually red in structure. If you were to grind up a red cardinal feather, the resulting powder would be dull brown. The red color comes from carotenoid pigments deposited in the feather structure, which then reflects red wavelengths of light to our eyes. Cardinals undergo a complete molt once per year, typically in late summer after the breeding season concludes. During this molt, they replace every feather on their body, a process that takes several weeks to complete. Molting is energetically expensive and makes birds somewhat vulnerable. New feathers require significant protein to grow, and while molting, birds may be less able to fly efficiently if they lose too many flight feathers simultaneously. Cardinals molt their feathers in a specific sequence that ensures they can always fly. They don't lose all their flight feathers at once. Instead, they shed and replace them in pairs, losing a feather from each wing at the same time to maintain balance. During molt, cardinals may look somewhat bedraggled and patchy. Some individuals temporarily lose their crest feathers, giving them an odd, bald-headed appearance until the new feathers grow in. Very rarely, cardinals can experience abnormal molting that leaves them completely bald on the head and neck. This condition is temporary, and the feathers usually grow back within a few weeks, though the bird looks quite peculiar in the meantime. The new feathers that grow in during molt are rich in color. Male cardinals appear particularly brilliant in fresh plumage after their molt, before the feather tips become worn from daily use. Feather wear occurs gradually throughout the year. The tips of feathers become frayed and abraded through contact with vegetation, weather, and normal activity. By the time the next molt arrives, the feathers are noticeably more worn than when they first emerged. Young cardinals go through their first pre-basic molt in late summer of their first year. This is when young males begin to acquire their red plumage, though they may not achieve full adult coloration until their second year. The cardinal's black facial mask is created by melanin pigments rather than carotenoids. Melanin is a pigment that birds can produce themselves, unlike carotenoids which must come from diet. Feathers serve multiple essential functions beyond flight. They provide insulation, keeping cardinals warm in winter and helping them manage heat in summer. They provide protection from rain and sun. And they serve as communication tools through their colors and patterns. Cardinals spend considerable time maintaining their feathers through preening. They use their beak to carefully zip together the tiny barbules on each feather, maintaining the smooth, interlocking structure that makes feathers functional for flight and insulation. Spring arrives for cardinals with increasing daylight and warming temperatures. This is when the breeding season begins, and male cardinals become especially vocal and territorial, filling the air with their songs from dawn through dusk. In spring, cardinals pair off and begin the process of nest building and egg laying. The landscape greens up, providing better cover for nests and an explosion of insect life that will feed growing chicks. Spring migration brings many bird species through cardinal territories. While cardinals themselves don't migrate, they share their spaces with temporary visitors passing through on their way to northern breeding grounds. Summer is the busiest season for cardinals. They raise their young, often managing 2 broods in a single summer. Parent birds work tirelessly to find enough insects to satisfy their hungry chicks' constant demands. Summer heat can be challenging for cardinals. They don't sweat like mammals. Instead, they pant to release excess heat, opening their beaks and rapidly fluttering their throat to increase evaporative cooling. Cardinals may also engage in wing-drooping behavior on hot days, holding their wings slightly away from their body to allow air circulation and heat dissipation. They seek shade during the hottest part of summer days. Autumn brings a shift in cardinal behavior. The breeding season concludes, and cardinals undergo their annual molt. The shorter days and cooling temperatures trigger changes in their physiology and behavior. In fall, cardinals shift their diet to take advantage of ripening seeds and fruits. They build up fat reserves that will help them survive the winter, eating more intensively as they prepare for the challenging months ahead. The fall landscape provides abundant food for cardinals. Native plants produce seeds, berries persist on shrubs, and insects remain available, though in decreasing numbers as temperatures drop. Young cardinals from the year's broods become independent in fall. They must learn to find food, avoid predators, and navigate their environment without parental guidance, all while preparing for their first winter. Winter presents perhaps the greatest challenges for cardinals. Food becomes scarcer, and the energy demands of staying warm in cold temperatures increase dramatically. Cardinals must eat enough to survive long, cold nights. On winter mornings, cardinals face an energy deficit after burning calories all night to stay warm. This makes early morning feeding critical, and cardinals are often among the first birds at feeders when dawn breaks. Snow cover can make natural food sources inaccessible. Seeds that cardinals could easily find on bare ground become buried and unavailable. This is when bird feeders become especially important supplemental food sources. Cardinals are well adapted to cold weather. They fluff their feathers to trap insulating air, and they can shiver to generate heat. They seek sheltered roosting spots that provide protection from wind and precipitation. Despite winter's challenges, cardinals remain active and vocal. Male cardinals sing even on cold winter days, maintaining their territories and perhaps lifting the spirits of humans who hear their bright songs against the stark winter landscape. Cardinals possess excellent color vision, actually seeing a wider range of colors than humans can. Birds can see into the ultraviolet spectrum, perceiving colors and patterns that are completely invisible to our eyes. This enhanced color vision helps cardinals in multiple ways. It allows them to better identify ripe fruits and nutritious foods. It helps them assess potential mates, as plumage may have ultraviolet components we cannot see. And it aids in navigation and habitat assessment. The cardinal's eyes are positioned on the sides of its head, giving it a wide field of view. This positioning allows cardinals to watch for predators approaching from many angles simultaneously, though it reduces their binocular vision directly ahead. Cardinals have relatively large eyes for their body size. These eyes gather light efficiently, allowing cardinals to be active in lower light conditions such as dawn and dusk, though they cannot see well in true darkness. Like all birds, cardinals have a third eyelid called a nictitating membrane. This translucent eyelid sweeps horizontally across the eye, cleaning and moistening it without blocking vision completely. You can sometimes see this membrane flick across a cardinal's eye. The sense of hearing is highly developed in cardinals. They can distinguish subtle variations in songs, recognize individual birds by voice, and detect sounds across a wide frequency range, including some frequencies inaudible to humans. Cardinals use their hearing to maintain contact with their mate, to detect alarm calls from other birds, and to monitor their environment for threats. Their ear openings are hidden beneath feathers on the sides of their head, protected but still functional. The sense of smell is less developed in cardinals than in mammals. Birds generally have a poorer sense of smell, though they can detect some odors. Cardinals rely much more heavily on vision and hearing to navigate their world. Cardinals have excellent spatial memory. They remember the locations of food sources, including multiple bird feeders across their territory. They create mental maps of their environment and can navigate efficiently to resources they discovered days or weeks earlier. Touch receptors in the cardinal's feet and beak provide important sensory information. The feet help cardinals grip branches securely and detect vibrations. The beak, especially around the base, has touch-sensitive areas that help cardinals manipulate food items. Cardinals can sense magnetic fields, an ability that many birds use for navigation during migration. Though cardinals don't migrate, this sense may help them maintain orientation within their territory and possibly plays a role in other behaviors we don't fully understand. The cardinal's brain, though small in absolute terms, is relatively large for their body size. Birds are remarkably intelligent, and cardinals demonstrate problem-solving abilities, learning, and behavioral flexibility that belie their small brain size. Cardinals can learn from experience. They learn which foods are most nutritious, which areas are safest, and which behaviors lead to success. This learning ability allows them to adapt to changing conditions throughout their lives. Young cardinals learn essential skills by watching their parents and other adult cardinals. This social learning accelerates the acquisition of knowledge about food sources, predator avoidance, and social interactions. The cardinal's association with Christmas is deeply embedded in American culture. The bright red bird against white snow has become an iconic image on holiday cards, decorations, and seasonal artwork, symbolizing the warmth and joy of the holiday season. Some people believe that cardinals are messengers from deceased loved ones, bringing comfort to those who are grieving. When a cardinal appears, especially at meaningful times, many find solace in the idea that it represents a visit from someone they miss. This belief has no scientific basis, but it speaks to the powerful emotional connection people feel with cardinals. The bird's beauty, its year-round presence, and its habit of appearing close to human dwellings make it a natural focus for such meaningful associations. 7 U.S. states choosing the cardinal as their state bird speaks to its widespread appeal. No other bird has been selected by as many states, highlighting the cardinal's special place in American natural heritage. The cardinal appears on the uniforms and logos of several professional sports teams, including the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team and the Arizona Cardinals football team. The bird's bold appearance and fighting spirit make it an appealing mascot. In Native American traditions, cardinals have held various symbolic meanings. Some tribes associated the red bird with relationships and courtship, while others saw it as a symbol of vitality and life force. Artists and photographers have long been drawn to cardinals as subjects. The vivid color contrast of a red male cardinal against green foliage or white snow creates striking images that capture viewers' attention. The cardinal's approachability makes it accessible to people who might not otherwise pay attention to birds. Cardinals visit feeders close to houses, allowing people to observe them from windows, bringing nature's beauty directly into daily life. Birdwatching is one of the fastest-growing outdoor activities in America, and cardinals often serve as gateway birds that spark interest in the hobby. Their beauty and ease of identification make them perfect for beginning birders. The cardinal trade in the early 20th century led to significant population declines. Beautiful songbirds, including cardinals, were trapped and sold as cage birds. The eventual passage of laws protecting wild birds helped cardinal populations recover. Today, cardinals are protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, making it illegal to capture, kill, or possess them without special permits. These protections have been crucial for maintaining healthy bird populations. The popularity of bird feeding has likely contributed to cardinal range expansion and population success. Millions of Americans maintain bird feeders, providing supplemental food that helps cardinals survive winter and thrive year-round. Cardinals have inspired countless works of literature, music, and art. Their presence in human culture goes far beyond simple appreciation of their appearance, touching on themes of hope, perseverance, and natural beauty. Cardinals are not particularly strong or graceful flyers compared to some bird species. Their flight is somewhat labored, consisting of rapid wing beats alternating with brief glides, creating a distinctive undulating pattern through the air. This flight style is sometimes described as looking bouncy or jerky. The cardinal beats its wings several times to gain altitude, then folds them briefly to glide, dropping slightly before resuming wing beats. Cardinals prefer to make short flights between patches of cover rather than flying long distances across open areas. They dash from one bush to another, using vegetation as protection from aerial predators like hawks. The cardinal's relatively short, rounded wings are adapted for maneuverability in dense vegetation rather than for long-distance flight or high-speed pursuit. These wings allow quick takeoffs and the ability to navigate through tangled branches. Cardinals can reach flight speeds of around 25 to 30 miles per hour when moving purposefully, though they typically fly much slower during routine movements around their territory. On the ground, cardinals move by hopping on both feet simultaneously rather than walking. This hopping gait is characteristic of many songbirds and is quite efficient for their size and body structure. When foraging on the ground, cardinals hop forward a short distance, pause to look for food, then hop again. They may scratch backward with both feet simultaneously, using a quick kick to scatter leaf litter and expose hidden seeds or insects. Cardinals can cling to the sides of tree trunks or large branches, though they're not as adept at this as woodpeckers or nuthatches. They typically perch on branches rather than climbing along vertical surfaces. The cardinal's feet have 4 toes arranged with 3 pointing forward and 1 pointing backward. This anisodactyl arrangement is common in perching birds and provides a secure grip on branches of various sizes. Cardinals have strong leg muscles relative to their size. These muscles power their hopping locomotion and allow them to grip perches tightly, even in wind or while reaching for food. When landing on a bird feeder or branch, cardinals typically approach from below, swooping upward to land. This approach gives them a clear view of their landing site and allows them to abort the landing if danger appears. Cardinals sometimes hang upside down or at odd angles while feeding on seed heads or reaching for berries. Their strong feet and good balance allow them to feed in positions that might seem precarious. Young cardinals learning to fly often crash land or misjudge distances. Flight is a skill that improves with practice, and newly fledged cardinals spend days strengthening their muscles and improving their coordination. The cardinal's long tail serves as a rudder during flight, helping with steering and balance. The tail can spread or fold, adjusting the bird's aerodynamics for different flight maneuvers. Cardinals demonstrate notable intelligence in their foraging strategies. They learn to visit multiple feeding sites on a regular route, timing their visits to maximize food intake while minimizing energy expenditure. Cardinals can remember the locations of hidden food caches, though they don't cache food as extensively as some species like chickadees or jays. Still, they occasionally hide seeds and can return to retrieve them later. These birds show behavioral flexibility in response to new situations. When bird feeders appear in their territory, cardinals quickly learn to use them, adapting their foraging patterns to incorporate this new food source. Cardinals can discriminate between different types of seeds and show clear preferences. At feeders with mixed seed, they selectively pick out sunflower seeds or safflower seeds while ignoring less preferred options like millet. Problem-solving abilities appear in various cardinal behaviors. They learn to access food from different types of feeders, figuring out how to perch on various designs and manipulate different feeding mechanisms. Cardinals recognize individual humans who regularly provide food. Birds that frequent backyard feeders can distinguish between the person who fills the feeder and other household members or visitors, sometimes showing less wariness around their regular benefactor. Mate recognition demonstrates cognitive abilities. Cardinals recognize their mate individually, distinguishing their partner from other cardinals by voice, appearance, and behavior patterns. Pairs coordinate activities through this recognition. Cardinals learn from observing other birds. A cardinal watching another bird successfully obtain food from a new source can learn to exploit that source more quickly than it would through trial and error alone. Young cardinals demonstrate learning ability as they master essential survival skills. They improve at seed handling, learning which techniques work best for different seed types and gradually becoming more efficient foragers. Cardinals show memory of danger. Once they associate a location with a threat, such as a cat attack site, they become more cautious in that area, demonstrating that they remember negative experiences and adjust behavior accordingly. These birds can assess risk levels in different situations. They show different levels of wariness depending on factors like cover availability, presence of other birds, and time of day, suggesting they evaluate situations rather than responding with fixed behaviors. Cardinals engage in play-like behaviors, particularly juveniles. Young birds may chase each other, grapple with leaves or other objects, and engage in activities that don't have immediate survival value but may help develop skills. Communication complexity reveals cognitive sophistication. Cardinals use different calls for different situations, and they respond appropriately to the alarm calls of other species, showing they understand context-specific vocalizations. Cardinals share their habitat with numerous other bird species, and these relationships range from neutral coexistence to direct competition to mutual benefit. At bird feeders, cardinals often interact with other species. They typically dominate smaller birds like chickadees and titmice, using their larger size to claim preferred feeding spots, but they often yield to larger, more aggressive birds like blue jays and grackles. Cardinals and blue jays have a complex relationship. While they compete for food resources and blue jays sometimes raid cardinal nests, they also benefit from each other's alarm calls, each species alerting the other to approaching predators. The presence of cardinals at a feeding site can actually attract other birds. Their bold red coloration makes them visible from a distance, and other birds may interpret their presence as indicating a safe, productive feeding location. Cardinals participate in mixed-species foraging flocks during winter. These loose aggregations include chickadees, titmice, nuthatches, and other species. The multiple eyes and ears of a flock provide better predator detection for all members. Different bird species have different foraging styles and preferences, which reduces direct competition. While cardinals feed primarily on the ground and on seeds, chickadees and nuthatches glean insects from bark, and woodpeckers probe deeper into wood. Cardinals sometimes respond to the alarm calls of other species. When a chickadee gives its high-pitched warning call or a blue jay screams an alarm, nearby cardinals often freeze or dive into cover, benefiting from the other bird's vigilance. House sparrows, introduced from Europe, compete with cardinals for food at feeders and occasionally for nest sites. However, cardinals' preference for shrubby nesting locations rather than cavities usually prevents direct nesting competition. Cardinals and Carolina wrens often nest in similar habitat, but their different nest structures and foraging strategies reduce competition. Wrens build domed nests and focus more on insect prey, while cardinals build open cup nests and eat more seeds. Squirrels present an interesting challenge at bird feeders. Cardinals often wait patiently for squirrels to finish feeding, then move in to eat spilled seeds on the ground, essentially benefiting from the squirrel's messy eating habits. Crows and ravens, though much larger, don't usually threaten adult cardinals directly. However, these intelligent corvids are nest predators that cardinals must guard against during breeding season. Cardinals occasionally interact with hummingbirds at flowering plants or sugar water feeders. These interactions are usually brief and non-confrontational, as the two species exploit resources somewhat differently. Mammals like deer browsing in cardinal habitat can create favorable conditions by opening up dense vegetation. This creates the edge habitat with mixed cover and open areas that cardinals prefer. Cooper's hawks specialize in hunting birds, and cardinals are among their prey species. The presence of a Cooper's hawk in the area creates immediate silence as all songbirds, including cardinals, freeze or hide. The cardinal's beak is a marvel of natural engineering. This thick, cone-shaped bill is powered by strong jaw muscles that can exert significant crushing force relative to the bird's size, allowing it to crack open hard-shelled seeds. Inside the cardinal's beak, the upper and lower mandibles have ridges and grooves that help grip and manipulate seeds. The bird positions a seed in its beak, then crushes it with precise pressure to crack the shell without destroying the nutritious kernel inside. Cardinals have a specialized tongue that helps them manipulate food. The tongue is somewhat pointed and can move seeds around inside the mouth, positioning them for effective processing. The cardinal's digestive system is adapted for a seed-based diet. Like all birds, cardinals lack teeth, so they swallow seeds whole or in pieces. In their muscular gizzard, small stones or grit help grind food into digestible particles. Cardinals have relatively large crop, a pouch-like expansion of the esophagus where food can be temporarily stored. This allows them to quickly gather food when it's available and then retreat to safety to digest it more slowly. The cardiac system of cardinals is efficient and powerful. Like all birds, cardinals have a four-chambered heart that completely separates oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, allowing for the high metabolism needed to maintain their body temperature and active lifestyle. A cardinal's heart beats approximately 600 to 800 times per minute when at rest, much faster than a human heart. During activity or stress, this rate can increase even further, pumping blood rapidly through their small body. Cardinals maintain a body temperature of approximately 107 degrees Fahrenheit, significantly warmer than human body temperature. This high temperature supports their rapid metabolism and active lifestyle, but requires constant food intake to maintain. The respiratory system of cardinals, like all birds, is remarkably efficient. Birds have air sacs in addition to lungs, creating a system where air flows through the lungs in one direction during both inhalation and exhalation, extracting oxygen more efficiently than mammalian lungs. Cardinals' bones are partially hollow, reducing weight for flight while maintaining strength. These pneumatized bones contain air spaces connected to the respiratory system, contributing to the efficiency of their breathing. The cardinal's skeletal system is lightweight but strong. The bones have a different internal structure than mammalian bones, with struts and supports that provide strength while minimizing weight. Cardinals have excellent neck flexibility. Like all birds, they have more cervical vertebrae than mammals, allowing them to rotate their head nearly 180 degrees to each side. This flexibility helps them preen all their feathers and maintain constant vigilance for predators. The cardinal's feet are covered in scales, a reminder of birds' evolutionary connection to reptiles. These scales protect the feet from abrasion and help prevent heat loss, as the feet are not insulated with feathers. Cardinals have small oil glands at the base of their tail. They use their beak to collect oil from this uropygial gland and spread it over their feathers during preening, waterproofing their plumage and keeping feathers flexible. Beyond their beautiful songs, cardinals communicate through a variety of other vocalizations. Their chip notes vary in intensity and rate depending on the level of threat, creating a graduated alarm system. A slow, occasional chip note indicates mild alertness or concern. As danger increases, the chipping becomes more rapid and insistent, signaling to other birds that a threat is present and growing. Cardinals have different calls for aerial predators versus ground predators. The alarm calls given when a hawk flies over differ subtly from those given when a cat approaches, and other birds respond appropriately to these different warnings. Body language plays an important role in cardinal communication. The position of the crest indicates mood and intention. An erect, fully raised crest often signals aggression or high alertness, while a flattened crest may indicate fear or submission. During aggressive encounters between male cardinals, the birds face each other with crests fully raised, swaying back and forth while giving low, harsh calls. This display often resolves conflicts without physical combat. Physical fights between cardinals do occur, particularly at the beginning of breeding season when territories are being established. Males may grapple with feet and beat each other with wings, sometimes falling to the ground while locked together. Female cardinals also display aggression, both toward other females during breeding season and toward other species that pose threats to their nest or young. They give loud chip notes and may dive at intruders. Cardinals use wing and tail movements as visual signals. A twitching tail often indicates alertness or agitation. Wing fluttering can be part of courtship displays or begging behavior. Juvenile cardinals use specific begging calls to solicit food from their parents. These calls differ from adult vocalizations and become less frequent as the young birds become independent. During courtship, in addition to mate feeding, males may perform aerial displays, flying in special patterns or from perch to perch while singing. These displays showcase the male's vitality and territory quality. Cardinals establish dominance hierarchies at feeders and within their social interactions. Higher-ranking birds get priority access to food and preferred perches, and these hierarchies are maintained through displays and occasional aggressive interactions. The white edges on the cardinal's wing feathers become visible during certain displays and in flight. These flashes of white against the red body may serve as signals, making the bird more visible to others during important interactions. Cardinals communicate information about food sources through their behavior. When one cardinal finds a productive feeding site, others may be attracted by watching the first bird's feeding success. Pair bonding in cardinals involves constant communication. Mated pairs maintain contact through soft calls, duetting songs, and coordinated movements, strengthening their relationship throughout the year. A common misconception is that only male cardinals sing. In fact, as we've discussed, female cardinals are accomplished singers, though they typically sing less frequently than males. Both sexes possess complex vocal abilities. Some people believe that cardinals abandon their territory in winter. This is false. Cardinals are year-round residents that maintain and defend their territories in all seasons, one of the characteristics that makes them so beloved. There's a myth that feeding birds in winter makes them dependent and unable to survive without human help. Research shows that bird feeders typically provide only a portion of a bird's daily food intake. Cardinals and other birds continue to forage naturally even when feeders are available. Another misconception is that cardinals mate for life in the romantic sense. While many pairs do stay together for multiple years, divorce does occur, with birds sometimes choosing new mates in subsequent breeding seasons, especially if reproduction was unsuccessful. Some people think that female cardinals are a different species or even a different kind of bird entirely. The brown female is simply the female of the same species, with coloration adapted for camouflage during nesting. There's a belief that cardinals are rare or endangered because of their beauty. Actually, cardinal populations are stable or increasing across most of their range, and they're among the most common and widespread birds in eastern North America. A myth persists that you shouldn't touch baby birds because the parents will smell human scent and abandon them. Birds, including cardinals, have a poor sense of smell and won't abandon young due to human scent, though it's still best not to handle wildlife unnecessarily. Some believe that all red birds are cardinals. Several other species have red plumage, including summer tanagers, scarlet tanagers, and some finches. Each species has distinct features, and careful observation reveals the differences. There's confusion about whether cardinals migrate. Unlike many songbirds, cardinals do not migrate. They're permanent residents throughout their range, adapted to survive in their territory year-round. A misconception exists that cardinals only eat seeds. While seeds are a major part of their diet, Cardinals also consume insects, especially during breeding season, and they eat fruits and berries when available. Some people think cardinal attacks on windows mean the bird is trying to get inside. Actually, the cardinal sees its reflection and perceives it as an intruding male cardinal, prompting territorial defense behavior. There's a belief that young cardinals are brown because they're sick or malnourished. Juvenile plumage is normal and serves important purposes, providing camouflage for vulnerable young birds. Cardinals in the northern parts of their range face harsher winters than their southern cousins. Northern cardinals have adapted to survive extended cold periods and deep snow, demonstrating the species' remarkable adaptability. In the southeastern United States, where cardinals have lived for thousands of years, they're woven deeply into the region's natural character. Here, cardinals may raise 3 broods per year, taking advantage of the longer breeding season. Cardinals in the desert Southwest, particularly in Arizona, represent one of the more recent range expansions. These birds have adapted to arid conditions, surviving in desert riparian zones and human-modified landscapes with irrigation and ornamental plantings. The expansion of cardinals into the Great Plains occurred largely in the 20th century. Tree plantings, both in windbreaks and urban areas, created suitable habitat where previously only grassland existed. Cardinals in urban environments face different challenges than rural birds. They contend with window strikes, cat predation, and limited natural food sources, but benefit from abundant feeders, landscaping that provides cover, and often reduced nest predation from some natural predators. Suburban cardinals often reach higher densities than those in purely natural habitats. The combination of diverse plantings, supplemental feeding, and edge habitat created by human development can support robust cardinal populations. In northern forests, cardinals typically concentrate along forest edges, near wetlands, and in areas with dense understory vegetation. They're less common in deep, mature forests where the understory is too sparse. Cardinals in mountainous regions generally remain at lower elevations. While they may occur in mountain valleys and foothills, they're typically absent from higher elevations where climate and habitat become unsuitable. Coastal cardinals face unique conditions, including salt spray, strong winds, and sandy soils. They adapt by utilizing coastal shrublands and maritime forests, finding shelter in vegetation adapted to these challenging conditions. The cardinal population in Canada represents the northern limit of the species range. Canadian cardinals have expanded their territory northward over recent decades, possibly due to climate change and increased winter bird feeding. Cardinals in Mexico, particularly the Yucatan Peninsula, represent the southern extreme of the northern cardinals range. Here, they overlap with other cardinal species and exist in tropical conditions quite different from those in temperate North America. Regional dialects in cardinal songs have been documented. Birds in different areas sing slightly different variations of cardinal songs, learned from local males and passed down through generations. Cardinals currently enjoy a secure conservation status. They're listed as a species of least concern by international conservation organizations, with stable or increasing populations across most of their range. The historical expansion of cardinal range suggests a species that's adapting well to modern landscapes. However, this success shouldn't lead to complacency, as all wildlife faces ongoing challenges. Habitat preservation remains crucial for cardinals. While they adapt to human-modified environments, they still need shrubby cover for nesting, diverse food sources, and safe spaces to rear their young. Native plant landscaping benefits cardinals significantly. Native shrubs and trees provide better food sources and nesting sites than many non-native ornamentals, supporting cardinals and other wildlife. Climate change presents uncertain futures for many species. Cardinals might benefit from warmer winters in northern regions, but changes in precipitation patterns, food availability, and other factors could create unforeseen challenges. Reducing window strikes helps cardinals and all bird species. Solutions include applying window decals, installing screens, or using special glass that birds can see, preventing collisions that kill millions of birds annually. Keeping cats indoors protects cardinals and other wildlife. Free-roaming cats kill billions of birds each year in North America, and responsible pet ownership can significantly reduce this source of mortality. Pesticide use poses risks to cardinals. Insecticides reduce the insect populations that cardinals depend on for feeding their young, and birds may be poisoned by consuming contaminated insects or seeds. Bird-friendly coffee and other sustainably produced agricultural products help conserve habitat in Central and South America, where many migratory birds spend their winters. While cardinals don't migrate, the broader conservation of bird habitat benefits entire ecosystems. Citizen science projects like the Christmas Bird Count and Project Feederwatch collect valuable data on cardinal populations. Thousands of volunteers contribute observations that help scientists track population trends and distribution changes. Creating bird-friendly communities involves multiple actions: preserving natural areas, maintaining corridor habitats, reducing light pollution, managing cat populations, and educating residents about wildlife needs. The success of cardinals in human-modified landscapes demonstrates that conservation doesn't require excluding humans from nature. Instead, thoughtful coexistence creates spaces where both humans and wildlife can thrive. Education about cardinals and other wildlife inspires the next generation of conservationists. Children who grow up watching cardinals at feeders often develop lifelong interests in nature and environmental stewardship. Cardinals occasionally exhibit leucism, a genetic condition that causes partial loss of pigmentation. Leucistic cardinals may have patches of white feathers mixed with normal coloring, creating a striking pied appearance. Extremely rarely, cardinals display gynandromorphism, where one side of the bird appears male and the other side appears female. These bilateral gynandromorphs are half red and half brown, split down the middle, one of nature's most remarkable oddities. Cardinal feathers have been found in archaeological sites, indicating that indigenous peoples valued these feathers for decoration or ceremonial purposes hundreds or thousands of years ago. Despite their bright coloring, cardinals can disappear remarkably quickly into cover. Their habit of staying within dense vegetation and their ability to remain motionless when threatened make them surprisingly hard to track visually. Cardinals can recognize themselves in mirrors to some extent, though they typically interpret their reflection as another cardinal. This ability to process visual information about their own appearance demonstrates cognitive sophistication. The oldest known wild cardinal lived over 15 years, but the average lifespan is much shorter. This disparity highlights how many young cardinals face in their early life, with survival improving significantly for birds that make it past their first year. Cardinals have been observed using anteing behavior not just with ants, but with other items like beetle larvae, mothballs, and even cigarette butts, suggesting they're experimenting with different substances for feather maintenance. In rare cases, cardinals have been observed hybridizing with closely related species like the Pyrrholoxia, creating offspring with intermediate characteristics. These hybrids are uncommon but document the close relationship between cardinal species. Cardinals can hover briefly when reaching for food, though they're not adapted for sustained hovering like hummingbirds. This ability demonstrates surprising aerial agility for a bird not typically known for flight prowess. Some male cardinals show extremely dark, almost maroon-red coloring, while others appear lighter, almost orange-red. These variations result from differences in diet, genetics, and age, creating beautiful diversity within the species. Cardinals sometimes cache extra food during abundant times, hiding seeds under bark or in crevices. Though they don't cache as extensively as jays or chickadees, this behavior shows forward-planning ability. The metallic sound of a cardinal's chip call comes from the structure of their syrinx, the avian vocal organ. Unlike mammals with a larynx, birds produce sound in this specialized organ located where the trachea splits into the bronchi. Cardinals can drink while standing in shallow water, but they typically gather water in their beak, then tilt their head back to let it flow down their throat, a drinking method common to most birds. Cardinals respond to changing weather in fascinating ways. Before storms arrive, cardinals often feed more intensively, as if sensing the approaching weather system and preparing for a period when foraging might be difficult. Barometric pressure changes associated with weather fronts may be detectable by cardinals. Many birds show altered behavior before storms, becoming more active at feeders or singing less, suggesting they perceive these atmospheric changes. During storms, cardinals seek shelter in dense evergreen trees or thick shrubs. These protected spots shield them from wind and precipitation, allowing them to conserve energy while waiting for conditions to improve. Ice storms pose particular danger for cardinals. When ice coats everything, seeds become inaccessible and branches become hazardous. Cardinals may go days with limited food during severe ice events, and mortality can increase significantly. After snowstorms, cardinals benefit greatly from bird feeders, as natural food sources lie buried. They're often among the most visible birds at feeders after snow, their red plumage bright against the white background. Cardinals can survive remarkably cold temperatures. Their feather insulation, combined with shivering and finding sheltered roost sites, allows them to endure nights well below freezing, though this requires substantial energy reserves. Wind affects cardinal behavior significantly. Strong winds make flight more difficult and dangerous, and cardinals often remain in sheltered locations during very windy conditions, reducing activity to conserve energy. Hot summer days cause cardinals to reduce activity during midday hours. They seek shade, remain quiet, and may pant to dissipate heat, resuming normal activity in cooler morning and evening hours. Drought conditions challenge cardinals by reducing insect populations and making water scarce. During droughts, water sources become crucial gathering points for cardinals and other wildlife. Cardinals sing more on mild, pleasant days than during harsh weather. Temperature, wind, and precipitation all affect singing behavior, with the most vigorous singing occurring during favorable conditions. Fog and low visibility reduce cardinal activity. These visual hunters rely heavily on sight, and when visibility drops, they become more cautious and less active. Humidity affects how sound travels, and cardinal songs may sound different on humid versus dry days. The birds themselves likely adjust their vocalizations based on these acoustic properties. The bond between cardinal parents and their offspring is strong but relatively brief. Within a few weeks of fledging, young cardinals become independent, though they may remain in the general vicinity of their parents' territory initially. Sibling relationships among young cardinals from the same brood dissolve quickly after independence. Unlike some bird species where siblings maintain connections, young cardinals go their separate ways, each establishing its own home range. First-year cardinals face the challenge of finding their own territory. In areas with high cardinal populations, good territories may be fully occupied, forcing young birds to settle in marginal habitat or wander until they find suitable space. Male cardinals typically establish territories before finding mates. A male will claim and defend a territory, then attract a female through his singing and the quality of the habitat he controls. Female cardinals evaluate potential mates based on multiple factors: song quality, plumage brightness, territory quality, and male behavior. This assessment ensures they choose a mate likely to help successfully raise young. Some cardinal pairs show remarkable site fidelity, nesting in the same general area year after year. If both members of a pair survive the winter, they often reunite and breed together again in the spring. The divorce rate in cardinals is not well studied, but observations suggest that pairs are more likely to remain together if they successfully raised young the previous season. Breeding success strengthens pair bonds. Young male cardinals attempting to establish territories may face aggressive challenges from established males. These territorial disputes help maintain spacing between breeding pairs and ensure resources aren't overexploited. Cardinals don't form extended family groups or flocks in the way some species do. Each pair maintains its territory, and while young may briefly remain nearby after fledging, true family groups don't persist beyond the breeding season. The arrival of young cardinals at feeders in summer provides delightful viewing. Fledglings still beg from parents even when sitting beside abundant food, gradually learning to feed themselves through trial and error. Parent cardinals must balance feeding themselves, their mate, and multiple chicks. This energy-intensive period requires finding enormous quantities of food each day, explaining why both parents participate in chick rearing. Sometimes, if a female begins a second clutch, the male takes over care of the first brood's fledglings. This division of labor allows the pair to maximize their reproductive output during the breeding season. The transition from parental care to independence is gradual. Young cardinals receive less food from parents over time, encouraging them to forage for themselves while still having backup support if needed. Cardinals are among the most desired visitors at bird feeding stations across North America. Their beauty and size make them showstoppers, and many people specifically design their feeding setups to attract cardinals. Platform feeders and large hopper feeders work best for cardinals. Their size makes them somewhat clumsy at small tube feeders, though they can use them if the perches are large enough. Cardinals prefer to feed at dawn and dusk, so these are the best times to observe them at feeders. However, during winter's short days, they may visit feeders throughout daylight hours. Black oil sunflower seeds are the gold standard for attracting cardinals. These seeds have thin shells that cardinals easily crack, and they're highly nutritious, providing the fats and proteins birds need. Safflower seeds attract cardinals while deterring some less welcome species. Cardinals readily eat safflower, but squirrels and grackles often avoid it, making it a strategic choice for feeder offerings. Cardinals often visit feeders in pairs, with the male and female arriving together. The male frequently allows the female to feed first, continuing the courtship behavior of letting his mate have priority access to food. Ground feeding appeals to cardinals' natural foraging style. Scattering seed on the ground or providing low platform feeders lets cardinals feed comfortably, though ground feeding also attracts squirrels and other animals. Cardinals are somewhat messy eaters, often discarding seed hulls and sometimes dropping whole seeds. This habit benefits ground-feeding birds that clean up the scraps beneath feeders. Offering multiple food types increases the chance of attracting cardinals. In addition to sunflower and safflower, they may eat mealworms, peanut pieces, fruit, and suet, especially suet containing nuts or fruit. Water features attract cardinals as reliably as food. A birdbath, especially one with moving water like a fountain or dripper, draws cardinals for drinking and bathing. Cardinals may be shy about approaching feeders if they feel exposed. Placing feeders near trees or shrubs where cardinals can retreat quickly increases their comfort and frequency of visits. Consistency in feeding matters. Cardinals learn the locations of reliable food sources and visit them regularly, so maintaining feeders year-round creates resident populations that visit daily. During breeding season, cardinals continue visiting feeders but may come less frequently as they focus on finding insects for their young. They still depend on seeds for their own nutrition. As the first gray light appears before sunrise, male cardinals begin to stir in their nighttime roosts. They typically sing before leaving their roost, announcing their presence with song even in pre-dawn darkness. The pre-dawn chorus, when male cardinals and other songbirds sing together, creates one of nature's most beautiful soundscapes. Each male proclaims his territory, the songs overlapping and echoing through the quiet morning. Once there's enough light to see, cardinals leave their roosts and immediately begin foraging. The morning feeding session is crucial, as they need to replenish energy used during the cold night. By mid-morning, after intensive feeding, cardinals may take time for maintenance activities. They preen their feathers carefully, ensuring every feather is clean and properly aligned. During the middle of the day, particularly in summer, cardinals often rest in shaded locations. They may sing occasionally but generally reduce activity during the hottest hours. Afternoon brings renewed activity. Cardinals forage again, knowing they need to build energy reserves for the coming night. They visit feeders, search for wild foods, and drink water. Male cardinals sing sporadically throughout the day, but singing often increases again in late afternoon. This evening song session, while typically shorter than the dawn chorus, serves the same territorial functions. As evening approaches, cardinals feed more intensively. The late afternoon feeding session is critical, especially in winter when nights are long and cold, requiring substantial fat reserves to survive until morning. About 30 minutes before sunset, cardinals begin moving toward their roosting sites. They fly to the general vicinity, then make final short flights to settle into the specific spots where they'll spend the night. Cardinals may change positions several times before settling in for the night, finding just the right spot that offers protection from weather and predators while allowing a quick escape route if needed. Once settled, cardinals become quiet and still. They tuck their head back against their body, fluff their feathers for insulation, and remain motionless through the long night. Throughout the night, cardinals are vulnerable to predators like owls, but their choice of roosting sites in dense cover provides significant protection. Their stillness and darkness help them avoid detection. The cardinal's daily rhythm is driven by light levels. As days lengthen in spring, their active period extends, and as days shorten and fall, they compress their activities into fewer daylight hours. This daily pattern repeats with remarkable consistency, day after day, season after season, creating the reliable rhythms that make cardinals such constant and comforting presences in the landscapes they inhabit. The northern cardinal has several recognized subspecies across its range. These subspecies show subtle variations in size, color intensity, and song, reflecting adaptation to different regional conditions. The nominate subspecies, Cardinalis cardinalis cardinalis, occurs across much of the eastern United States. This is the form most familiar to people in the bird's core range. In southern Florida, the subspecies Cardinalis cardinalis floridanus is slightly smaller and darker than the nominate form, adaptations perhaps related to the warm, humid climate. Western populations belong to different subspecies, showing variations from the eastern birds. These differences demonstrate how cardinals have adapted to diverse environments across their broad range. The Pyrrholoxia, sometimes called the desert cardinal, is a close relative found in the southwestern United States and Mexico. It has a gray body with red highlights and a distinctive yellow, parrot-like beak. Pyrrholoxias and northern cardinals occasionally hybridize where their ranges overlap, producing offspring with characteristics intermediate between the two species. This hybridization confirms their close evolutionary relationship. The vermilion cardinal, found in parts of South America, is a more distant relative. Despite the similar name, it belongs to a different genus and represents convergent evolution toward the red cardinal form. Within the same family, cardinality, are other colorful birds like the rose-breasted grosbeak, blue grosbeak, and indigo bunting. These relatives share the strong, seed-cracking beak but have evolved different colorations and ecological niches. The evolutionary history of cardinals stretches back millions of years. Fossil evidence of cardinal-like birds is limited, but molecular studies suggest the cardinal lineage split from other members of its family relatively recently in evolutionary terms. Cardinals are part of the songbird radiation that diversified across the Americas, developing into the hundreds of species we see today. Their success demonstrates how effective their basic body plan and lifestyle have been. Studying cardinal subspecies helps scientists understand how species evolve and adapt to different environments. The subtle variations between populations reveal the ongoing process of evolution in action. The distinctive characteristics of different cardinal populations are maintained through both genetic inheritance and cultural transmission of learned behaviors like songs, creating unique regional identities within the species. Cardinals have been subjects of scientific study for centuries. Early naturalists documented their appearance, behavior, and distribution, contributing to our understanding of North American ornithology. John James Audubon painted cardinals in his famous Birds of America collection. His detailed illustrations helped introduce these beautiful birds to audiences who might never encounter them in the wild. Modern photography has made cardinals accessible to millions. Stunning images of cardinals against snow, on flowering branches, or feeding young appear in countless publications, calendars, and artwork. Bird banding studies have revealed much about cardinal lifespan, movement, and survival. Tiny aluminum bands placed on cardinal legs allow researchers to track individuals throughout their lives, building databases of information. Technological advances like GPS trackers and radio telemetry, while rarely used on birds as small as cardinals, have been employed in some studies, revealing details about daily movements and habitat use. Acoustic research analyzes cardinal songs, documenting regional dialects, individual variations, and the complexity of their vocal communications. Sonograms, visual representations of sound, reveal patterns invisible to the ear. Genetic studies have clarified cardinal relationships to other species and documented the genetic diversity within cardinal populations. DNA analysis has revolutionized our understanding of bird evolution and taxonomy. Cardinals participate in citizen science through programs where volunteers report sightings. This crowdsourced data collection provides scientists with information about distribution, population trends, and timing of behaviors across vast areas. The Christmas bird count, running for over a century, includes cardinal observations from thousands of participants. The resulting dataset tracks cardinal population changes and range expansions over decades. Project FeederWatch enlists backyard bird feeders to collect data on winter bird populations. Cardinals are among the most frequently reported species, providing valuable information about their abundance and distribution. Scientific journals regularly publish research on cardinal behavior, ecology, and biology. Each study adds pieces to our understanding of these familiar yet endlessly fascinating birds. Educational programs often feature cardinals as ambassador species, teaching children and adults about bird biology, ecology, and conservation through the lens of this charismatic and accessible bird. The cardinal's familiarity makes it perfect for education. People already recognize and love cardinals, providing teachers and naturalists with an engaged audience ready to learn more about bird biology and ecology. Creating cardinal-friendly habitat in your yard involves thoughtful plant selection. Native shrubs provide the best nesting sites, with dense, twiggy growth that supports nest construction and conceals nests from predators. Dogwood trees attract cardinals with their berries in fall and winter. These native trees also provide insects, nesting sites, and cover, making them excellent multi-purpose choices for cardinal habitat. Serviceberry, also called Juneberry, offers early summer fruits that cardinals eat. The shrub form provides dense cover, while the tree form offers singing perches and nesting sites. Eastern red cedar and other evergreens provide crucial winter cover and roosting sites. These plants remain dense year-round, offering protection from weather and predators when deciduous plants are bare. Sunflowers in the garden provide natural food for cardinals. Allowing sunflower heads to mature and leaving them standing through fall and winter creates a bird feeding station directly from your garden. Native grasses left standing through winter provide seeds for cardinals. Switching grass, Indian grass, and little bluestem all produce seeds that persist into winter, offering natural food when other sources are scarce. Avoiding pesticides benefits cardinals directly. The insects they need for feeding their young decline with pesticide use, and cardinals themselves risk poisoning from contaminated prey. Creating layers of vegetation, ground covers, shrubs, small trees, and larger trees, mimics the edge habitat cardinals naturally prefer. This vertical diversity provides resources for different activities and seasons. Providing water through bird baths, fountains, or small ponds attracts cardinals. Water features should include shallow areas where birds can safely bathe and drink. Leaving some areas of your yard a bit wild benefits cardinals. Brush piles provide cover and foraging sites. Leaf litter contains insects and seeds. Too tidy yards lack the resources cardinals need. Planning for year-round interest ensures cardinals always find resources. Spring flowers attract insects, summer fruits provide food, fall seeds sustain birds, and winter evergreens offer shelter. Avoiding non-native invasive plants benefits entire ecosystems. While cardinals may use some invasive plants, native plants support more diverse insect populations and provide better overall habitat. Connecting your cardinal-friendly yard to neighbors' yards creates habitat corridors. Even small yards collectively form significant habitat when designed with wildlife in mind. As dawn breaks across the landscape, one of the first sounds to greet the morning is often the cardinal's song. Their vocal abilities rank among the most impressive in the bird world, with a repertoire that varies from individual to individual, creating a symphony unique to each bird. Male cardinals are particularly vocal, singing to establish territory and attract mates. A single male may know more than 24 different song variations, each consisting of clear, whistled notes. These songs often sound like cheer cheer cheer, birdie birdie birdie, or putty 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 to human ears, though cardinals themselves likely hear much more nuance in these vocalizations than we can perceive. What makes cardinals truly special in the bird world is that females also sing. In most songbird species, only males vocalize, but female cardinals possess their own repertoire of songs. They typically sing from the nest, possibly communicating with their mate about when to bring food, or warning of nearby predators. This duetting behavior strengthens the bond between paired cardinals and helps coordinate their parenting efforts. Cardinals sing year-round, unlike many songbirds who fall silent after breeding season. Even in the depths of winter, when snow blankets the ground, a male cardinal may perch in a bare tree and deliver his territorial song, his red plumage brilliant against the white landscape, his voice carrying through the cold, still air. The cardinal's syrinx, the bird equivalent of a voice box, contains specialized muscles that allow precise control over sound production. This anatomical feature enables cardinals to create their complex, melodious songs. Each note they produce requires coordinated muscle movements, and young cardinals must practice extensively before perfecting their adult songs. Young cardinals learn their songs primarily from their fathers. Juvenile males listen intently to adult males, particularly their own father, during their first months of life. They then practice these songs in whisper vocals, trying out different variations until they develop their own unique style. This cultural transmission means that cardinals in different regions may have slightly different song dialects. Beyond their melodious songs, cardinals produce a variety of calls for different situations. A sharp chip sound serves as a general contact call, helping cardinals keep track of each other's locations in dense vegetation. When alarmed, cardinals emit a metallic chink or series of rapid chip notes, alerting other birds to potential danger. During aggressive encounters with rivals or predators, cardinals produce a distinctive metallic sound, sometimes described as resembling a mechanical toy. These aggressive calls often accompany threat displays, where the cardinal raises its crest, fans its tail, and leans toward the intruder. The volume of a cardinal's song can be surprisingly loud for such a small bird. Their vocalizations can carry several hundred feet, ensuring that neighboring cardinals clearly hear their territorial proclamations. This carrying power comes from the cardinal's efficient respiratory system and the acoustic properties of their syrinx. Cardinals often sing from elevated perches, choosing the highest points in their territory. This behavior serves two purposes. The height allows their song to travel farther, and the prominent position makes them visible to both rivals and potential mates. A singing male cardinal atop a tree becomes a living beacon, simultaneously audible and visible across his domain. Research has shown that female cardinals prefer males with larger song repertoires. Males who can perform more song variations demonstrate their cognitive abilities and experience, traits that may indicate they will be better providers and protectors. Thus, the cardinal's voice becomes not just communication but advertisement of fitness and quality as a mate. When spring arrives and daylight hours lengthen, cardinals begin one of nature's most charming courtship rituals. The bond between male and female cardinals often lasts for years, with many pairs remaining together until one partner dies. Courtship begins with the male singing vigorously from prominent perches throughout his territory. His bright plumage and varied songs serve to attract females while simultaneously warning rival males to stay away. A female who enters his territory and doesn't immediately leave signals her potential interest. One of the most endearing cardinal courtship behaviors is mate feeding. The male carefully selects a choice seed or insect, then approaches the female with gentle calls. She responds by fluttering her wings and opening her beak like a baby bird. The male then tenderly places the food directly into her mouth. This behavior isn't merely romantic ritual. It serves a practical purpose by demonstrating the male's ability to find food and his willingness to share resources. Mate feeding continues throughout the breeding season and beyond. Even after years together, paired cardinals engage in this behavior, strengthening their bond and ensuring the female receives extra nutrition during the energy-intensive egg-laying and incubation periods. Some pairs have been observed mate feeding even in winter, suggesting the behavior reinforces their relationship year-round. Cardinals also engage in beak jousting during courtship. The pair faces each other and rhythmically touches beaks together, swaying side to side in a coordinated dance. This gentle interaction may help them assess compatibility and synchronize their breeding readiness. Once paired, cardinals become remarkably devoted partners. The male defends their shared territory vigorously, chasing away rival males who venture too close. His aggressive displays include raising his crest, spreading his tail, leaning forward, and sometimes physically attacking intruders. These territorial battles can be intense, with cardinals occasionally fighting so vigorously they tumble to the ground. Female cardinals also defend territory, but they typically confront other females rather than males. When a strange female appears, the resident female may chase her aggressively, sometimes pursuing the intruder far beyond normal territorial boundaries. This behavior suggests that females compete for both territory and access to males. The size of a cardinal pair's territory varies depending on habitat quality and population density. In ideal conditions with abundant food and nesting sites, territories may be as small as 2 to 10 acres. In less favorable habitats, pairs may claim and defend much larger areas to ensure adequate resources for raising their young. Cardinals are monogamous within breeding seasons, and many pairs remain together for multiple years. However, if one partner dies, the survivor typically finds a new mate relatively quickly, especially during breeding season when the drive to reproduce is strong. The timing of cardinal breeding varies with latitude. In southern portions of their range, cardinals may begin nesting as early as March, while northern populations typically wait until April or even May. This variation ensures that eggs hatch when insects and other protein-rich foods are available to feed rapidly growing nestlings. When the time comes to build a nest, the female cardinal takes primary responsibility, though the male sometimes helps by bringing materials. She searches for the perfect location, usually choosing dense shrubs, tangled vines, or thick evergreen branches between 3 and 10 feet above the ground. The goal is to find a spot that offers both concealment from predators and protection from weather. The female cardinal constructs her nest over 3 to 9 days, working primarily in the morning hours. She weaves together twigs, strips of bark, grasses, and rootlets, creating a cup-shaped structure. The base of the nest consists of coarser materials, while finer grasses and plant fibers line the interior, creating a soft cradle for the eggs that will soon arrive. Cardinal nests measure approximately 3 to 4 inches across and 2 to 3 inches deep. The walls, though they appear delicate, are actually quite sturdy, constructed with remarkable architectural skill. The female shapes the cup by pressing her body into the materials, rotating in place to create the perfect circular form. Some cardinals incorporate unusual materials into their nests. Paper, string, cloth, cellophane, and even plastic have been found woven into cardinal nests in urban and suburban areas. This adaptability demonstrates the cardinal's ability to thrive in human-modified landscapes, using whatever materials prove suitable for construction. The location of a cardinal nest often provides clues about the female's assessment of predation risk. Nests placed very low, close to the ground, typically occur in areas where the female perceives less danger from climbing predators. Higher nests may indicate the presence of snakes, cats, or other ground-based threats. Cardinals sometimes nest remarkably close to human activity. They've built nests in hanging flower baskets, wreaths on front doors, and decorative shrubs directly beside patios and walkways. This tolerance for human presence suggests that cardinals may actually perceive humans as a deterrent to natural predators like hawks and snakes. Once the nest is complete, the female begins laying eggs, typically producing 1 egg per day in the early morning hours. A complete clutch usually contains 3 to 4 eggs, though some females lay as few as 2 or as many as 5. Each egg is slightly smaller than a quarter, with a pale greenish, bluish, or grayish-white background decorated with spots and speckles of brown, gray, or purple. The egg markings vary considerably from one female to another, creating unique patterns. These individual differences may help cardinals recognize their own eggs if another bird attempts to lay eggs in their nest, though cardinals are not common victims of nest parasitism by species like cowbirds. After laying her final egg, the female begins incubation in earnest. She settles onto the nest and maintains the eggs at the proper temperature through direct contact with her brood patch, a featherless area of skin on her belly that has developed specifically for transferring body heat to eggs. This patch is rich with blood vessels that bring warmth directly to the egg's surfaces. The female cardinal incubates the eggs for 12 to 13 days. During this time, she rarely leaves the nest, relying on the male to bring her food. When she does leave briefly to defecate or drink, she moves quickly, minimizing the time the eggs are exposed to cooling temperatures. Throughout the incubation period, the male cardinal remains vigilant. He delivers food to his mate multiple times per hour, approaching the nest with soft calls. He also stands guard nearby, watching for predators and singing to maintain his territorial claims. If a threat appears, he sounds alarm calls that send the female into heightened alert. The developing embryos inside the eggs undergo remarkable transformations during incubation. Within days, their hearts begin beating, blood vessels spread across the yolk, and tiny forms start taking shape. By the end of incubation, fully formed baby cardinals lie curled within their shells, ready to break free into the world. As the 13th day of incubation approaches, changes occur within each egg. The baby cardinal inside, having absorbed nearly all the yolk that has sustained its development, begins preparing for hatching. It shifts position, moving its beak toward the air cell at the egg's larger end, taking its first breath of air from this pocket that has gradually expanded throughout incubation. The baby cardinal possesses a special tool for breaking free: the egg tooth, a small, sharp projection on the tip of its upper beak. This temporary structure, which will fall off within a few days of hatching, allows the nestling to crack through the shell from inside. The process, called pipping, begins when the baby cardinal punctures the shell's inner membrane, then chips away at the calcium carbonate shell itself. Hatching requires tremendous effort. The baby cardinal must rotate within the shell, chipping a circular crack that eventually allows the shell to break apart. This process can take 12 to 24 hours. The mother cardinal watches and waits, providing warmth and occasionally calling softly to her emerging offspring, but she cannot help with the actual hatching process. When a baby cardinal finally breaks free from its shell, it emerges exhausted, damp, and remarkably helpless. The nestling's eyes remain sealed shut, and its body is nearly naked, with only sparse wisps of down feathers. Its skin appears pinkish-gray and translucent, so thin that internal organs can be glimpsed beneath the surface. Despite their helpless appearance, newly hatched cardinals demonstrate one impressive ability: they can lift their heads and open their mouths wide, begging for food. This gaping response is triggered by movement or sound near the nest, and the bright red or orange color of the nestlings' mouths provides a target for parents delivering food. The female cardinal typically broods her newly hatched young almost constantly for the first few days, keeping them warm since they cannot yet regulate their own body temperature. The male works tirelessly, hunting for soft-bodied insects and spiders to feed both his mate and the growing nestlings. Cardinal parents carry away the empty eggshells soon after hatching. This housekeeping behavior serves an important purpose. White shell fragments near the nest might attract predators' attention. By removing this evidence, cardinals help keep their nest's location secret from hungry eyes. Baby cardinals grow at an astonishing rate. They require enormous amounts of protein, and their parents make dozens of feeding trips each day. Both mother and father hunt for caterpillars, beetles, grasshoppers, spiders, and other invertebrates. Though adult cardinals eat primarily seeds, their nestlings need protein-rich insects for proper development. The nestlings' eyes begin opening when they're about 4 to 5 days old. Before this, they lived in darkness, responding only to touch, sound, and the warmth of their mother's body. Once their eyes open, they can see their parents approaching with food, allowing them to beg more effectively by aiming their gaping mouths precisely. Pin feathers begin emerging when the nestlings are about 5 days old. These small, sheathed structures gradually unfold into actual feathers, covering the nestling's naked skin. The timing is crucial. Nestlings must develop sufficient insulation before leaving the nest, as they will no longer have their mother's body heat to keep them warm. By 1 week of age, baby cardinals have gained considerable weight, growing to several times their hatching size. Their feather development accelerates, and they become more active in the nest, stretching their wings and legs, strengthening muscles they will soon need for flying. At 9 to 11 days of age, young cardinals face one of life's greatest challenges: leaving the nest. This moment, called fledging, occurs before the young birds can fly proficiently. They hop and flutter from the nest to nearby branches, beginning an adventurous and vulnerable period of their lives. Fledgling cardinals look quite different from their parents. Their plumage appears brownish-gray, similar to adult females but even more subdued. Their beaks are dark gray or blackish rather than the bright orange-red of adults. This juvenile appearance will persist for several weeks before they molt into more adult-like plumage. The decision to leave the nest isn't entirely the fledgling's choice. The parent cardinals begin encouraging their young to fledge, sometimes withholding food and calling from nearby perches with enticing insects visible in their beaks. This motivation, combined with the nestling's growing size and restlessness, eventually prompts them to take their first tentative hops into the wider world. Those first days outside the nest are perilous. Fledgling cardinals cannot fly well. They can only flutter short distances between low branches. They spend much of their time on or near the ground, making them vulnerable to cats, snakes, hawks, and other predators. Their survival depends heavily on their parents' vigilance and their own instinct to remain still and quiet when danger threatens. Parent cardinals continue feeding their fledglings for 3 to 4 weeks after they leave the nest. The adults know their offspring's locations through a system of contact calls. Hungry fledglings emit distinctive begging calls, softer than their nest begging but still audible to attentive parents. The adults respond, locating their scattered young and delivering food to each in turn. During this post-fledging period, young cardinals gradually develop their flight skills. Each day brings improvement as their wing muscles strengthen and their coordination increases. By the end of their 3rd week out of the nest, juvenile cardinals can fly reasonably well, though they still lack the agility and speed of experienced adults. Young cardinals also begin attempting to find food on their own during this learning period. They watch their parents foraging and try to imitate their techniques. Early attempts often fail, with juveniles pecking at inedible objects or failing to crack open seeds properly. Through trial and error, observation, and maturation of their motor skills, they gradually become proficient foragers. The family group begins breaking up when the young cardinals reach independence, usually about 4 to 6 weeks after fledging. Parent cardinals may chase their offspring away, especially if the adults are preparing to nest again. Cardinals often raise 2 or even 3 broods in a single breeding season, so parent birds must balance caring for current offspring with beginning their next reproductive attempt. Juvenile cardinals face high mortality rates. Studies suggest that fewer than half of fledglings survive their first year. Predation claims many young birds, while others succumb to starvation, disease, or accidents. Those that do survive this critical period have learned essential skills for navigating their world, finding food, avoiding predators, and understanding cardinal social dynamics. As summer progresses, juvenile cardinals undergo their first molt, gradually replacing their gray-brown juvenile feathers with adult plumage. Young males begin showing patches of red, though their first adult plumage is typically duller than that of mature males. Young females transition to the warm brown tones of adult females, with subtle red highlights emerging on wings and crest. This first-year plumage helps young cardinals avoid aggression from territorial adults. Mature males recognize juvenile males as non-threats due to their duller coloring and may tolerate their presence in ways they wouldn't tolerate brightly colored rivals. This tolerance gives young males time to develop their skills before facing the full intensity of territorial competition. The cardinal's diet varies considerably with the seasons, demonstrating remarkable adaptability to food availability throughout the year. Though cardinals are primarily seed eaters, their Catholic tastes allow them to exploit diverse food sources across their range and throughout the annual cycle. In spring and summer, when insects abound, cardinals incorporate substantial animal protein into their diet. They hunt caterpillars with particular enthusiasm, finding these soft-bodied larvae on leaves and branches. A single cardinal may consume dozens of caterpillars in a day, providing essential amino acids needed for feather growth and reproduction. Beetles form another important protein source. Cardinals crack open beetle exoskeletons with their powerful beaks, accessing the nutritious tissues inside. They consume both adult beetles and beetle larvae, often finding these insects under bark or within rotting wood. Their thorough searching behavior makes cardinals valuable pest controllers in gardens and forests. Grasshoppers, cicadas, and other large insects attract cardinals' attention during summer months. The birds spot these prey items from perches, then swoop down to capture them. After catching a large insect, a cardinal often beats it against a branch to kill or stun it before consumption, making handling easier. Spiders and their eggs provide food year-round. Cardinals carefully search bark crevices and leaf clusters for spider egg sacs, which contain concentrated nutrition. They also capture web-building spiders, apparently unconcerned by the sticky silk that might deter other birds. As autumn arrives and insect activity decreases, cardinals shift their diet toward seeds and fruits. They have favorite plants that produce abundant, nutritious seeds. Wild grapes attract cardinals throughout their range, the birds visiting vineyards both wild and cultivated to feast on ripened fruit. Dogwood berries are cardinal favorites. These bright red fruits ripen in fall, providing fat and carbohydrates that help cardinals build energy reserves for winter. Cardinals swallow dogwood berries whole, later regurgitating the large seeds, thereby helping distribute these plants across the landscape. Sumac produces cone-like clusters of red berries that persist through winter. Cardinals visit sumac stands repeatedly, extracting individual berries from the clusters. The acidic, tangy fruits provide vitamin C and energy during the lean months when other food becomes scarce. Wild cherries and serviceberries attract cardinals in season. The birds swallow small fruits whole, but they must work differently with larger cherries, holding them with their feet and pecking out the flesh while avoiding the hard pit. This handling behavior demonstrates the cardinal's intelligence and dexterity. Hackberries, with their thin layer of sweet flesh over a hard seed, challenge cardinals' foraging skills. The birds have learned to manipulate these fruits efficiently, extracting maximum nutrition with minimum effort. Hackberry trees often host groups of cardinals during winter, the birds working through the abundant fruit crop methodically. Cardinals also consume various tree seeds. They visit ash trees to extract seeds from the winged samaras. Maple seeds, with their distinctive helicopter shape, provide food in late winter and early spring. The birds must remove the thin wing to access the seed itself, displaying their beak dexterity. Weed seeds form an important dietary component, especially in winter. Cardinals feed on seeds from ragweed, foxtail, smartweed, and many other plants that most humans consider nuisances. This taste for weed seeds makes cardinals allies in agriculture, consuming thousands of seeds that might otherwise sprout into competing plants. At bird feeders, cardinals show strong preferences for certain foods. Black oil sunflower seeds rank as the cardinal favorite at most feeders. These seeds provide high fat content and are relatively easy for cardinals to crack, offering excellent energy return for effort invested. Cardinals often dominate feeders, spending long periods selecting and eating sunflower seeds. Safflower seeds attract cardinals while deterring some other species. The slightly bitter taste of safflower doesn't bother cardinals, but it discourages squirrels and blackbirds. Many people use safflower specifically to provide food for cardinals without feeding less welcome visitors. Cardinals also enjoy cracked corn, peanuts, millet, and commercial seed mixtures. They prefer feeding on platform feeders or on the ground rather than hanging feeders, though they will use hopper-style feeders if necessary. Their preference for stable feeding platforms relates to their natural ground feeding behavior. Cardinals typically begin their day before sunrise. In the dim pre-dawn light, males often deliver their first songs, their voices joining the dawn chorus that greets each morning. This early singing serves multiple purposes. It announces continued territory ownership, signals vitality to their mates, and warns potential rivals that the territory remains defended. After singing, cardinals begin foraging. They employ several different feeding techniques depending on food type and location. On the ground, cardinals use a distinctive double scratch motion. They hop forward, then kick both feet backward simultaneously, scattering leaf litter to reveal hidden seeds and insects beneath. This technique is so characteristic that even distant, shadowy movements in underbrush can identify a cardinal by its foraging style alone. When feeding in shrubs and trees, cardinals hop along branches, carefully examining leaves, bark, and twigs for insects and seeds. They show remarkable patience, thoroughly investigating each potential food source. Their deliberate, methodical searching contrasts with the rapid, flitting movements of smaller birds like chickadees or warblers. Cardinals drink water regularly throughout the day. They approach water sources cautiously, first observing from nearby cover to ensure no predators lurk nearby. Once assured of safety, they hop to the water's edge, dip their beak, and tilt their head back to let water flow down their throat. Cardinals also bathe frequently, especially during hot weather, entering shallow water and splashing vigorously to clean their plumage. Preening occupies a significant portion of a cardinal's day. Using their beak like a comb, cardinals carefully arrange each feather, removing dirt, parasites, and damaged sections. They have a special oil gland near the base of their tail that produces waterproofing oil. Cardinals rub their beak against this gland and then distribute the oil throughout their plumage, maintaining feather integrity essential for both insulation and flight. Cardinals are not particularly social birds outside the breeding season, but they're not entirely solitary either. During fall and winter, cardinals sometimes join mixed-species foraging flocks that include chickadees, titmice, nuthatches, and woodpeckers. These loose associations provide safety in numbers, with many eyes watching for predators. However, cardinals maintain personal space even within these groups, showing less tolerance for crowding than more social species. Roosting behavior in cardinals varies seasonally. During breeding season, paired cardinals often roost near each other but not directly together. The female typically roosts on or near the nest when actively incubating or brooding, while the male chooses a nearby protected perch. During winter, cardinals select roosting spots in dense evergreen trees or thick shrubs that provide protection from wind and weather. Cardinals have specific ways of dealing with extreme weather. During heavy rain, they seek shelter under dense foliage, often remaining still until the downpour passes. In winter storms, cardinals fluff their feathers to trap insulating air against their bodies, making themselves appear much rounder and larger than normal. This fluffing can increase their insulation by up to 30%. On very cold winter nights, cardinals sometimes enter a state of regulated hypothermia, allowing their body temperature to drop slightly to conserve energy. This controlled cooling reduces their metabolic rate, helping them survive long, cold nights when energy conservation becomes critical. They can lower their temperature by several degrees Fahrenheit without harm, then warm up quickly when morning arrives. Cardinals show definite preferences for certain habitat features. They favor edge habitats where forest meets field, or where thick shrubs border open areas. These edge zones provide both the dense cover cardinals need for nesting and shelter, plus the open areas where many of their food plants thrive. This preference for edges has allowed cardinals to prosper in suburban environments, where yards, parks, and gardens create abundant edge habitat. Territory size in cardinals varies with habitat quality and population density. In prime habitat with abundant food and cover, a cardinal pair may defend an area as small as 2 to 3 acres. In poorer habitat, territories expand to 10 or more acres. Cardinals defend these territories vigorously, especially during breeding season, chasing intruders and engaging in border disputes with neighboring pairs. Cardinals have several predators they must watch for constantly. Sharp-shinned hawks and Cooper's hawks specialize in hunting small birds and pose serious threats. Cardinals often freeze motionless when they spot a hawk, relying on stillness and cover to avoid detection. Their alarm calls alert other birds to danger, creating a neighborhood watch system that benefits all species. Domestic cats kill millions of birds annually, and cardinals, with their ground-feeding habits, are particularly vulnerable. Snakes raid nests, eating eggs and nestlings. Blue jays sometimes destroy cardinal eggs or young. Even squirrels occasionally prey on cardinal nests. The constant vigilance required to avoid these many threats shapes much of cardinal behavior throughout each day. The cardinal's plumage represents a masterpiece of natural engineering. Each feather serves specific functions, from insulation to flight to display. Adult cardinals possess thousands of individual feathers, each grown from a follicle in the skin, each requiring energy and nutrients to produce and maintain. Contour feathers cover most of the cardinal's body, creating its smooth, streamlined outline. These feathers overlap like shingles on a roof, creating both an aerodynamic surface and a weatherproof barrier. The bright red or brown coloring we admire comes from these contour feathers, which contain the pigments that give cardinals their characteristic hues. Beneath the visible contour feathers lies a layer of down feathers. These soft, fluffy feathers lack the structured veins of contour feathers and instead form a loose, insulating layer that traps warm air against the cardinal's body. During cold weather, cardinals can adjust the position of their contour feathers to increase or decrease the thickness of this insulating layer, much as humans add or remove clothing. Flight feathers, growing from the wings and tail, enable cardinals to navigate their three-dimensional world. The primary flight feathers, attached to the bird's hand bones, provide the power for forward flight. Secondary feathers, attached to the forearm, create lift. Cardinals have 10 primary feathers on each wing and 9 secondaries, each precisely shaped to maximize flight efficiency. The tail feathers, 12 in total, serve as both rudder and brake. Cardinals can spread or fold their tail, adjusting their flight path or controlling their speed during landing. When a cardinal lands on a branch, watch how it fans its tail and adjusts its angle, using these feathers as an air brake to ensure a controlled, precise touchdown. Cardinal flight is distinctive. They don't soar like hawks or hover like hummingbirds. Instead, cardinals fly with an undulating pattern, flapping their wings several times to gain altitude, then folding their wings briefly and dipping downward before flapping again. This undulating flight conserves energy compared to continuous flapping, making it efficient for traveling between feeding areas. The wing loading of cardinals, their weight relative to wing area, places them in the middle range among songbirds. They're not as maneuverable as smaller, lighter birds, nor as powerful in flight as larger species. However, their flight capabilities match their lifestyle perfectly. They can travel quickly between patches of habitat, maneuver through shrubby vegetation, and escape from most ground-based predators. Cardinals molt their feathers annually, a process that requires significant energy and resources. The molt typically occurs after breeding season, in late summer and early fall. Cardinals molt gradually, losing and replacing a few feathers at a time rather than becoming flightless. This gradual molt allows them to maintain full flying capability throughout the molting period, essential for escaping predators. During molt, cardinals may appear somewhat ragged, with gaps in their plumage and occasionally a disheveled appearance. Some individuals develop temporary bald patches on their heads during molt, creating an odd, vulture-like appearance. These bald cardinals usually regrow their head feathers within a few weeks, returning to their typically handsome appearance. The bright red coloration of male cardinals comes from carotenoid pigments called carotenoids. Cardinals cannot manufacture these pigments themselves, they must obtain them from their diet. Foods rich in carotenoids include many red, orange, and yellow fruits and berries. The cardinal's body processes these dietary pigments and deposits them in growing feathers. Male cardinals in poor health or with inadequate diets may grow feathers with less intense red coloration. This connection between color and health explains why female cardinals prefer the brightest males. Brilliant red plumage honestly advertises that a male has successfully found high-quality food and maintained good health, traits that may indicate superior genetics or foraging ability. Female cardinals obtain the same dietary carotenoids as males, but their feathers appear brown rather than red. Scientists believe this sexual dimorphism evolved because females benefit from camouflage coloration while incubating, whereas males benefit from bright coloration for attracting mates and intimidating rivals. The difference is genetic, controlled by sex chromosomes, with hormones influencing how pigments are deposited during feather growth. Occasionally, unusual color variations occur in cardinals. Leucistic cardinals have patches of white or pale feathers due to a genetic condition that prevents normal pigment deposition. Completely white or partially white cardinals appear occasionally, always attracting attention from observers. These birds typically have normally colored eyes, distinguishing them from true albinos. True albino cardinals, lacking all pigment including eye color, are extremely rare. Albinism causes multiple problems beyond unusual appearance. Albino feathers lack normal structural strength, and albino birds often have poor vision. These disadvantages make survival difficult, explaining why albino cardinals are seldom seen in wild populations. As winter settles across the landscape, cardinals face their greatest survival challenge. Cold temperatures, shorter days, and reduced food availability test every aspect of cardinal biology and behavior. Yet these resilient birds have adaptations that allow them to thrive even during harsh northern winters. Winter mornings find cardinals visiting feeders early, often arriving in dim pre-dawn light. They need to refuel after long, cold nights when their bodies burn stored fat to maintain body temperature. A cardinal can lose up to 10% of its body weight overnight during extreme cold, making morning feeding critical for survival. Cardinals form loose flocks during winter, a departure from their territorial behavior during breeding season. These winter groups may include a dozen or more cardinals, sometimes with one sex predominating. The flocks aren't tightly coordinated like those of starlings or geese. Rather, they represent a temporary association of individuals drawn to good feeding areas. Hierarchy develops within winter cardinal flocks. Dominant males, usually the brightest and most mature individuals, get first access to preferred feeding spots. Subordinate males and females must wait their turn or feed at less favorable locations. This social structure reduces aggressive encounters and helps the group function more efficiently. Despite cold weather, cardinals continue singing in winter. On sunny days, even in January, a male cardinal may deliver his full territorial song from a prominent perch. This winter singing serves to maintain territorial claims and keep pair bonds strong. The sight and sound of a brilliant red cardinal singing against fresh snow has inspired countless poets and artists. Cardinals face winter weather with remarkable adaptations. They can shiver to generate heat, rapidly contracting their flight muscles to produce warmth without actually flying. This thermogenic shivering can increase their heat production several-fold, but it also burns energy rapidly, explaining why cardinals must feed so intensively during cold weather. Snow doesn't stop cardinals from foraging. They search for seeds from plants poking above snow cover, and they scratch through shallow snow to reach leaf litter beneath. Cardinals remember the locations of productive feeding areas and return to them repeatedly, demonstrating spatial memory that helps them survive when food becomes scarce. As winter progresses toward spring, subtle changes begin. Day length increases, triggering hormonal shifts in cardinals. Males' territorial instincts reawaken, and they begin reclaiming breeding territories. Singing increases in frequency and intensity. Paired cardinals strengthen their bonds through increased mate feeding and courtship behaviors. Spring arrives gradually, marked by warming temperatures and returning insects. Cardinals shift from winter flocking behavior back to territorial defense. Males establish or reaffirm territory boundaries, leading to frequent singing matches and occasional physical confrontations. The landscape fills with cardinal voices as males proclaim their territories and court their mates. Spring also brings nest building, eggs, and the demanding work of raising young. The cycle of reproduction consumes cardinals' energy and attention from March or April through August. Many pairs raise 2 broods, and some attempt 3, meaning that summer passes in a blur of nest building, egg-laying, incubation, and chick-rearing. Summer finds cardinals at their busiest. Parent birds hunt constantly for insects to feed their growing young. The adults themselves eat fewer seeds during this period, instead focusing on protein-rich invertebrates. Their territories ring with the begging calls of fledglings and the feeding calls of attentive parents. Late summer brings relief from parenting duties as young cardinals reach independence. Adults begin their annual molt, gradually replacing worn feathers with fresh plumage. Gardens and feeders become quieter as molting cardinals reduce their activity and spend more time in cover, perhaps feeling vulnerable with their compromised flight capabilities. Autumn arrives with cooling temperatures and changing leaves. Cardinals increase their feeding rate, building fat reserves for the approaching winter. They eat heavily from abundant fruit crops, visiting dogwoods, wild grapes, sumacs, and other fruit-bearing plants. Their diet shifts away from insects, which become less available, toward the seeds and fruits that will sustain them through winter. The annual cycle completes itself as autumn transitions to winter once again. Cardinals face the cold months ahead with the same resilience and adaptability that has allowed their species to prosper across much of North America. Each season brings different challenges and opportunities, and cardinals have evolved behaviors and physiology to meet them all. Cardinals demonstrate surprising cognitive abilities for birds once dismissed as simple seed eaters. Research has revealed that these colorful birds possess impressive memory, learning capability, and even basic problem-solving skills that help them navigate the complexities of their environment. Cardinals remember the locations of productive feeding areas with remarkable precision. They can return to specific bushes, trees, or feeders where they found food previously, even after absences of days or weeks. This spatial memory extends across their entire territory, creating a mental map of hundreds or thousands of individual locations. Seasonal memory also plays a role in cardinal behavior. They remember which plants produce food at different times of year, visiting dogwoods in fall when berries ripen, returning to specific weed patches when seeds mature, and checking certain trees when insects are most abundant. This phenological knowledge improves foraging efficiency and survival. Cardinals learn to recognize individual humans, distinguishing between people who pose no threat and those who behave aggressively or unpredictably. Cardinals nesting near homes often ignore residents who pass by daily while showing alarm at strangers. This discrimination demonstrates sophisticated perceptual and memory capabilities. Problem-solving abilities appear in cardinals' foraging behavior. When encountering a new food source, cardinals experiment with different handling techniques until they find one that works. They learn to manipulate bird feeders, opening covers or perching at unusual angles to access seeds. Young cardinals watch experienced birds and copy successful techniques, showing social learning. Cardinals can associate human activities with food availability. They've learned that lawn mowing exposes seeds and insects, and cardinals often follow lawnmowers, feeding in freshly cut grass. They recognize the sound of feeders being filled and arrive quickly when they hear these auditory cues. Such associations demonstrate both learning and memory. Tool use remains rare in cardinals, but they do show behavioral flexibility in manipulating objects. Cardinals have been observed using their feet to hold food items while breaking them apart with their beak, a rudimentary form of tool use. They wedge large seeds into bark crevices to hold them steady while cracking them open, showing understanding of how to use environmental features to solve problems. Cardinals recognize reflections as threats, which sometimes creates problems. During breeding season, territorial males may attack their own reflection in windows, mirrors, or shiny car surfaces, perceiving the reflection as a rival male. This behavior, while maladaptive in human environments, demonstrates the cardinals' strong territorial instincts and their ability to recognize cardinals by appearance. As we near the end of our journey through the world of cardinals, it's worth reflecting on why these birds captivate us so completely. Perhaps it's their beauty, that brilliant red that catches the eye and lifts the spirit. Or perhaps it's their constant presence. Cardinals don't abandon us for warmer climates. They stay year-round companions who greet us through all seasons, their songs and colors reliable constants in a changing world. Cardinals embody resilience. They survive harsh winters, evade predators, raise their young against the odds, and thrive in modern landscapes that have challenged many species. Their success reminds us that adaptation and persistence can overcome obstacles. The cardinal at your feeder is an individual with its own history, a journey from egg to adult, territories claimed, mates courted, challenges overcome. Every cardinal carries a story written in survival and perseverance. When you hear a cardinal singing on a winter morning, you're hearing a declaration of presence and purpose. That song has echoed through forests for millennia, and it continues today, connecting past and present. Cardinals remind us that beauty exists in everyday moments. You don't need to travel to exotic locations or seek rare species. Extraordinary beauty visits your backyard, asking only for a few seeds and a safe place to live. The cardinal's relationship with humans is largely positive. We provide food and habitat, they provide beauty, song, and connection to the natural world. This mutual relationship benefits both species. As you drift toward sleep, perhaps you'll remember the cardinal's bright flash of red against winter snow, or its cheerful song on a spring morning. These memories connect us to nature and to the cycles of seasons and life. Cardinals will continue their lives whether we watch them or not. They'll sing their territories, court their mates, raise their young, and survive another year. Their lives proceed on their own terms, following ancient instincts and patterns. Yet when we choose to notice, to watch, to listen, we enrich our own lives immeasurably. The cardinal becomes a teacher, showing us persistence, beauty, adaptation, and the intricate complexity of even the most familiar creatures. Tomorrow morning, perhaps earlier than you'd prefer, a male cardinal will begin singing. His clear whistles will carry through the dim light of dawn, announcing a new day, claiming his territory, celebrating his existence. And in that song is everything we've discussed: evolution, adaptation, survival, reproduction, the drive to succeed and persist. The cardinal's song is both simple and profound, a voice of nature that continues undiminished. So as you rest now, let the knowledge of cardinals settle over you like soft feathers. Let their beauty and resilience bring comfort. Let their constancy provide peace. The cardinals will be there tomorrow, and the next day, and through the seasons to come. They are steadfast companions on our journey through life, bright sparks of red in the ever-changing landscape. Sleep well, knowing that the natural world continues its patient rhythms. The cardinals keep their vigil, and tomorrow they'll be there again, ready to share their beauty with anyone willing to pause and notice. Closing. And so we close our exploration of the remarkable Northern Cardinal. These beautiful birds, with their crimson feathers and spirited songs, continue to brighten our days and inspire our wonder. May your dreams be peaceful, and may your mornings be greeted by the cheerful song of cardinals. Good night.